the body is so important. In tennis, is so poorly taught because they start little kids sideways that it's almost a different sport. While if you start the person with your front, it's like playing ping pong, but at a slower pace, because ping pong can be a fast game because the table is small. So anyway, this is amazing because it is changing my life. And I only waited 50 years to see you. Sorry I didn't meet you before.
Well, this is a good example of how it's important to nip things in the bud so it doesn't affect your lifestyle in a grand way all through the years of your life. Where I suspect that this as a problem, if were properly corrected soon after it occurred, would have given you many years on the pro tour without incident, but also understanding that the change in your forehand stroke, forehand swing.
Well, the initial change from my natural and powerful way
stance
to the closed stance, that was the thing that got me.
That really got you in trouble, and if it and what it did is it weakened that area so that lunge took you over the edge, so to speak.
Right. It affected my stroke as well because I played all the best players of my time, and I could have been a lot of them with my old forehand, and I was being careful and kind of defensive in the way I thought. I still was hitting hard because I didn't want to show a weakness, but that was, the story of my life.
I think the lesson to be learned here is that when injury occurs, consider what caused the injury. Is it a problem with my biomechanics? Maybe my form is off, which is what caused the injury. And then confront the injury. Don't wait for it to get worse. Confront it in the most conservative manner possible. And with that in mind, I would certainly say, see a chiropractor.
And
stay away from those pain pills, which in due time gives the person the feeling that they're better than they are. The pain is saying there's a problem, deal with it. You take the pain pill and you go, oh, no big deal, and now the problem becomes worse.
Yeah, and wait before you get an operation, like so intrusive. No, it can be something like you did with me that you fix, and new life at 78. So
good as new.
You think I'm too old to go back to a tour?
I don't think so. I myself, utilizing a traditional style of side stance, hitting the ball, myself developed lateral epicondylitis, tennis elbow. And when asking other pros what should I do, their advice was, well, maybe you just need a bigger grip, even bigger than what I already had. And the fact of the matter is, never once was my form a consideration, or maybe the big grip was part of the problem.
Yeah, it is, because you have to hold it tighter in order to control the racket. But you don't really need to control racket. All the forces cancel each other. You hit like very loose, and the racket may turn a little bit, but it contributes to keeping the ball in the court. So I have very good players who really held the racket very loose, and they learn from the racket rather than controlling the racket. They learn where the racket wanted to go. In that way, they avoid the stress and injury.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And when that does occur, the strategy is to use cold. Do not put heat on that elbow. Cold will help calm it down, and it should, if it's only a inflammation of a tendon, it should, in the course of a week, using cold, pretty well resolve itself. But all of that is of no avail if you don't look at what caused the problem, because then you'll just do it all over again, and then you're right back where you started.
Well, there should be like the three things. The first, what caused the problem, where the problem is, because then you might find that it's kind of hidden a little bit, like in your lower back or, sacroiliac, because that most people don't know that can get out of place, can cause a lot of other problems. So you have to investigate that also, but with a person that has the knowledge, and then you know, you have to correct both what is wrong with the body plus what caused it, because if you are using wrong technique, you know, you are aggravating and hitting hundreds of balls a day maybe, or even for a pro like Andy Murray, you know, that he keeps, you know, that close stance over and over, and he has such a wonderful backhand, and he really relies on it, but it might be, you know, easier on his body if he was facing the net. It could be.
Yeah, to make these mistakes even one time is going to cause something to happen to that joint. And these micro traumas affecting tendons and cartilage and ligaments.
Over and over. Right?
Oh, but over and over, these little incidents add up together and become cumulative, and then you've got something big going on. It's usually with these tennis injuries, it's not just a singular incident. It's not like, again, in football where a guy just came in, he crashed into your knee and your knee just blew out. In tennis, it's it's a repetitive stress injury.
Yeah, like a guy like Murray has his tens of thousands of balls, or maybe even hundreds of thousands of balls, and now, you know, a little bit later in life is affecting him.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
catching.
But
It's catching
for
up to
me,
him.
I didn't know it, but I had it young, you know, and it flared up with the big pull, you know, and I was already 27, and now I'm 77, and
Yeah.
I'm
Bad-
like 50 years with something out of place. It was costing me a lot of different things and problems, and avoiding it by not playing very much or playing as little as possible. And I love the sport, you know, and I want to
Yeah,
play.
bad form causes bad injuries, and so. But if you don't correct the form, the injury is going to reappear.
Thank you. Very well said. Dr. Barniak, yeah, on the serve, a lot of people have trouble with the shoulder, especially at the club level, because the pros do it differently. And what I have always recommended was to use the triceps to extend the arm. Players like Roger Federer, Pete Sampras, you know, they play so many matches a year, and they don't have shoulder problems because they don't use really these little shoulder muscles to drive the ball. Is an extension, you know, to the point that these guys have 2,500 or 3,000 RPM, the rotation on the ball on the first serve. And the second serve was closer to 5,000 RPM or above, like in the case of Sampras. It was such an effective and heavy second serve. Edberg as well. So what is your recommendation? Like using, you know, the extension of the arm and going beyond the ball and upwards, or heading down.
Yeah, another example of repetitive stress syndrome, which is by flexing the shoulder repeatedly, one is traumatizing the shoulder with each flexion, and over time the shoulder starts to show wear and tear.
Yeah, but when you say the shoulder, are you using the short muscles or using the long muscles? With the long muscles, these guys never had injuries, but the ones that use the downward motion, trying to get the ball down in there, have more problems with the shoulder.
Yeah, there's more muscles involved, the capsule of the joint.
Well, but which are the more efficient muscles, which are the less efficient for this type of movement?
Well,
The short muscles, the long muscles?
Well, I guess right off the bat, when you're dealing with professionals, you're looking to see what's the most effective way of serving so as to gain the advantage. And the professionals have
which is?
concluded that brushing the ball, as you described, becomes the more effective way. Directing your arm upward as opposed to internally rotating the shoulder and
coming
flexing,
down,
coming straight
and
down.
also
Just
the
muscling the ball.
pronation. Yeah, muscling the ball by turning this, because you can muscle with the edge, you have to turn it when you're coming down.
So not only is it more effective, but they can do it prolonged in practice, hitting, like you say, hundreds and eventually thousands of balls without injury. But it's also the motion and the involvement, the repetitive motion involving the shoulder joint. So if you can minimize the flexion of the shoulder, which is what's happening here, minimize its flexion. The fact is that the pros hit the ball differently than does the recreational player. The pros hit a lot more balls, they hit it more effectively, and they have less injury to the shoulder. That in itself should be enough for the recreational player to say, if I'm having shoulder problems, why would I not want to hit it like the pros do? They don't have the problems that I have, and they hit the ball better.
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good.
You're welcome, Oscar.